Good evening. Welcome to Warrenton's finest fantasy football league. Our week 12 recap, week 13 preview. I am your host, Jeff, and your commissioner of your league. How kind of me to do this week after week. And by kind, I mean silly, because I don't think anyone watches this anymore. I certainly don't. I forget. Honestly, don't take anything that I ever say in this personally, because I forget as soon as I stop recording and I upload it. I forget everything that I've ever said in the video. So all my jabs, it's spur of the moment. I don't plan any of this out. It's just me debriefing. I wish I could talk to you guys about fantasy football in person, but nobody will hang out with me. Maybe because I make fun of you so much in these videos. But let's go ahead and get to it. Our week 12 recap. And guys, we only have two more games, 2 more weeks after this, and then the regular season is wrapped up. So a lot is on the line week after week here. And what do we have on the line here? The first matchup we're going to discuss is the Dallas Jeff Boys riding a 7-game win streak against the Wanakee Squirrel Salads riding a 6-game losing streak. So what would that mean? Of course, it means that Greg puts up his highest point total in about 7 weeks. 136.7 to my 96.46. And, I'm not upset with how I did. I did leave a lot of points on my bench. I think if you add it all up, I could have had 107 if I had done Goff instead of Purdy. I could have had 137 if I had started Devonta Smith instead of Adam Thielen. But, all the starts that I did, that's fine. I could have, Greg had he had points he left on his bench, and that's just kind of the way that fantasy works out. You make your best decision, and it's usually wrong. So never trust your instinct, but always trust your instinct. Don't trust your gut, but trust it when you need to, and that's usually when it works out. But 136, Greg, you put up a lot of points. I just find it funny that you've been getting like 70, 54, 76 points the last 3 weeks, and then you go against me. I'm actually really glad that I lost. A 7-game win streak was a terrible burden to bear, because my fear was winning for the rest of the regular season and then losing in the first round of the playoffs, which may still happen. I may still lose in the first round of the playoffs, but I didn't want to have, just riding that high mojo of like 9 games in a row or something and then losing in the first week to Matt like I did last year. That was very demoralizing, very terrible. Wouldn't recommend it. But anyways, you beat me. Good work. You got yourself out of last place, Greg. You were tied for last with the Flute Master himself. You are now not in last place, but that could change this week. More on that later. Next up, we had Team Queen gone on strike. And guys, there's a theme in this week. People that were terrible stopped doing terrible, except for Hannah's team. So sorry. Matt beat you 139 to 77.6. And Hannah, Joe Burrow going out, your number 1 pick, Justin Jefferson being out. You just got dealt a bad hand this year. Your best picks all just kind of decided to retire due to injury, basically, is what it seems like. So, yeah, Dallas Goedert's out, Jefferson's out, Joe Burrow's out. You're left with kind of a ragtag team, and there's not much you can do with a ragtag except to have your points doubled. Matt, congratulations. I saw you doing like cautious, semi-optimistic. I think I'm going to win this week without rubbing it in. So you're learning, but don't get cocky in this next week. Next up, Uncle Touchdown taking on ChatGB Lee. This, guys, was the battle for first place, the battle for the bragging rights. The previous matchup, ChatGB Lee had beaten Sean. And so was Sean going to take that? Sean started out the season really strong. And by starting out the season, I think he's still only lost 2 games. I don't know why I'm feeling sorry for Sean right now, but he did come out and scored a lot of points. 141 to Brandon's 100. He proved that the robot is indeed human, that there is chance for the humans to overthrow our AI overlords in the future. Big production day. Christian McCaffrey, 2 touchdowns. I was pretty bummed about that. I was like, yeah, Niners are going to really beat the Seahawks, so let me start Brock Purdy. Didn't realize they were going to run in every single touchdown and not throw for anything, basically. So that was disappointing for me, but congratulations to you. you've got you basically average 17 to 20 points for all of your people. So good week on you. Next up, Team Touch Dan taking on the Flute Master, and Michael had been riding some pretty good momentum till I beat him last week, and then he's like, maybe I'm gonna get out of last place because Greg's losing a lot, people are losing a lot, and then Dan beat you 139.9 to 101.9. And Dan needed this. It's been tough on Dan. Dan had a hard time. I think a 4-game losing streak. He really needed some kind of like boost to his morale. So Dan, way to go. We saw how hard you fought for this one, and man, it really showed off all the extra time you've been putting in just staring at your phone. You actually didn't make the wrong choice on your quarterback this time. I was laughing when Jordan Love had 26 and you didn't start him again this time, but Trevor Lawrence, 2 strong performances in a row, so way to ride the momentum on that. And Tyreek Hill continues to just be a fantasy beast, I tell you. Sorry, Michael, you are now in sole possession of last place. More on that later. Next up, slightly above average team taking on Field of Dreams, and Carlos unfortunately lost to Jason. Not unfortunate if you're Jason. Jason wins 127.3 to 110. And Carlos, I mean, that's a bummer. You score 110 points, you think he'd have a pretty good chance at winning. Unfortunately for you, you did not, because who's this dude with Kyron Williams? Somebody that no one's ever heard of, scored 36 points as a running back. Jonathan Taylor, 21 points. I mean, when you're getting 57 from your running backs, but I mean, you get Pacheco 23 and Stevenson 19, so that stings to lose, Carlos. Good job, Jason. 2 games above 500, so you're living true to your name. Last matchup was the Weasel taking on Team Midnight, and defending champ. I'm sorry, this has not been your year, but hey, you won 2 years in a row. Just keep fighting hard, although it'd be pretty entertaining. It's anyone's game for that flute, for that recorder challenge. Right now, though, the Weasel beat Mike 129 to Mike's 80, and just not a great. I mean, Cooper Kupp 3 points. That shouldn't have happened. You didn't have too many points on your bench though, so Mike, you did the best you could. It just was not enough. This was a very interesting. If you look at the scoreboard, only three teams scored below 100 points. Myself, Hannah, and Mike. Everyone else, I mean, we had 3 teams in the 135, 139 mark, 127, 141, a couple with 100. Like, that was pretty high scoring points this week. If you lost, sorry. I lost, and I'm sorry. Looking ahead to week 13, if we actually look at the standings right now, in the East, sole possession of first place, Uncle Touchdown 10-2. If he had lost and I had won, could have been tied. That would have been pretty cool. Sean at 10-2, Dallas Chef Boys 8-4, slightly above average, riding a little 3-game win streak, 7-5. Team Touchdown, Dan and Gone on Strike are both 5-7, and Squirrel Salad snapped that 6-game losing streak, 4-8. In the West, Chat GB Lee at 9-3, Weasel 7-5, Field of Dreams 6-6, and then Team Queen, Team Midnight, again losing in synchronization, both 4-8, and the Flute Master officially eliminated from playoff contention at 3-9. But if we take a look at our week 13 matchups, there's still a potential for 4 teams to be the main loser of the group, which honestly at this point is kind of more exciting than finding out who's making the playoffs. So we've got Chat GB Lee taking on Dallas Chef Boys, Brandon at 9-3, me 8-4. Brandon projected 123 to my 81. I guess I should really look at my lineup and see why that's so low. Somebody's obviously on a bye week. That's not cool. Gone on Strike taking on Uncle Touchdown. Matt's hanging on by a thread, trying to make those playoffs at 5-7. Needs to win out the next 2 weeks and needs to have Jason lose out for the rest of the week, and then it comes down to points scored. There's probably some other things in there as well that are coming down, but we'll leave it at that for now, just to make this be a lot of pressure on Matt. The Wanaki Scroll Salad's taking on Team Touch Dan. Again, Dan also needs to win out in order to have any chance of making the playoffs, and Greg needs to not lose in order to stay out of. You still have a 2% chance of making the playoffs, Greg, so I'm not counting you out for that. Although you may be counted out for that, but I think according to this, you're not completely eliminated, so there's still a chance. Got to beat Dan. If you lose, it's going to get interesting because the next matchup is the Flute Master, 3-9, going against a slightly above average team. Now, Michael, if you lose and Greg wins, no, I'm sorry. Even if you lose, there's still a chance that you're not in last place because, and right now you're projected to lose 82 to Jason's 94, because Team Midnight and Team Queen, the pair, I think they've won and lost in the same order every single week, except for when they faced each other, and they play each other this week, both at 4-8. Projected right now, Mike 94, Hannah 79. Whoever wins that game is guaranteed to not have lost that game. I was going to say another guarantee, but I'm doing math in my head really quickly, and that's not true. But anyways, so Michael, if you lost, the loser of Mike and Hannah's game is still just one win away, and then it would come down to week 14, in which you play against the Weasel, Michael. And anyways, not to get ahead of myself. The other matchup that we have is the Field of Dreams taking on Team Weasel. Both teams fighting for a playoff spot. Right now, the Weasel projected 93 to Carlos's 71. So everyone, I know it's Tuesday night. Might be posting this on Wednesday because I'm tired. But check your lineups, check the waiver wire, except let my claim go in first. And congratulations to Sean, Jeff, and Brandon having clinched playoff spots. There's 3 spots wide open. Everything's up for grabs except for Michael making the playoffs. But again, we're going to have the loser's bracket. Do not fret. Loser bracket. You can still win some money. Check your lineups. Check your local listings. I don't know. That used to be something people said, right? Was that when newspapers were around? Anyways, I'm going to stop now. Have a great week. Talk to you later. Goodbye.